Welcome to this edition of Inside Look. It's getting cold out there, and it is November, and that means it's almost time for the Dana Santa Parade. So I'm joined, as always, by Neil Lambert.
Hey, Megan, how are you?
Good. I feel like we were just here.
You know, it's always a fast year. It just speeds right by. It gets worse as you get older, Meg.
Don't remind me. Now, something interesting is I am on the committee, but when do you actually start planning?
I start planning in September or so. At this point, the committee that we have has been working long enough on this parade. We've got it down to a pretty good science. There's always a few new members to the committee from one year to the next, but there's a certain plan we follow, and that starts taking shape in September or so, and then the committee starts to meet in October, and things start coming together.
How much easier has it gotten for you?
Oh, tremendously. The first year I did this 12 years ago, we were at a complete loss because my father, when he was running the parade, he had a lot of scribbled notes all over the place, and a lot of it was in his head, and he wasn't available to get that information. So we had someone on the committee at that point who just took my father's nonsense and put it into a spreadsheet, and that's basically what we've been following ever since. But every year, you know who we need to call for permission to use their property, and it just seems to get easier every year.
You know, there always are hiccups, but I feel like in the meetings that I'm in, it always runs smoothly.
Yeah, the meetings absolutely run smoothly.
Well, not those, but I meant
the parade itself. I want to say last year we didn't have any hiccups at all, and it was astonishing in and of itself that was the case. But again, between the parade committee and the Sturdy Hospital Ham Radio Group, who helps us out every year to get everything assembled, we have a lot of seasoned veterans who know what they're doing. Again, always some new people in there, but everybody comes together. They know their job, and they, if somebody's new, somebody helps to mentor that person. And like I said, last year everything went according to plan. So I'm hoping for that again this year. That would be really nice.
I think that Nancy Joyce and I am hoping for that as well, because we'll be doing the parade. Peter will be at Disney. So it should be interesting.
Disney in November or North Attleboro on December 1st, I myself would choose North Attleboro on December 1st because...
Would you really, though?
I would, as a matter of fact. I can't think of a place I'd rather be. It's this is where it all comes together. This is Santa's first area visit, and maybe Peter's going to be on the naughty list because he went to Disney instead of coming to see Santa.
Well, let's just hope Nancy and I can get through this.
I have utmost confidence in you and Nancy. I'm really looking forward to seeing the parade on North TV after the fact, because I know you and Nancy we're talking about this, and the two of you, I think, are going to do a great job. I really do.
I think we'll be all right. Now, the most important part of a parade is the Grand Marshal. Who is the Grand Marshal this year?
So this year's Grand Marshal, and I should mention, maybe not the most important part, but one of the most important parts are our sponsors who help put the parade together, or at least give us the money so that we can do this. Because there are expenses involved in running a parade. And without their generous support, we really couldn't do this. And again, this year, Bristol County Savings Bank is our official parade sponsor. And then we have two smaller sponsorships, but still vital. We have W.H. Riley and Box Seats Restaurant, who are sponsoring our Classic Cars divisions this year. But because of their generosity and our ability to put on the parade, we're able to do that Grand Marshal selection. And this year I want to say was one of the hardest years to pick from the nominees. We had a number of great nominees that, it definitely made a very difficult decision. But I'm happy to say this year's Grand Marshal will be the family of Chris Cornetta. And, as everyone, I think everyone knows, Chris's loss last winter was a devastating loss to the community. It was one of those things that when it happened, it shot around town in a heartbeat, and everybody knew Chris. Everybody liked Chris. He's one of those guys that if you walked around town and asked about Chris, nobody had a bad thing to say about him. So. So this year's Grand Marshal is going to be the Cornetta family, his wife Michelle and his children, and I believe they're going to invite some other family members to ride along with them. And Chris did a lot for this town. He was on the fire department for I think 30 years.
Wow.
He ran the parallel parade, I guess, the Kids Day Parade. I believe he ran that for about 17 years. He was he had his own business as an appliance repairman, and if anyone's on Facebook, any of the North Attleboro groups, whenever somebody was saying, hey, my whatever is broken, the first name that always came up was Chris Cornetta. And again, everyone had great things to say about Chris, and his loss to the community is really going to be felt for years to come. So it's our honor to have the Cornettas this year as the Grand Marshals.
How touched were they when you got in touch with them?
First, there was surprise because they weren't even aware that they'd been nominated. Nevertheless, that they were nominated, I think 7 or 8 times. But when I spoke with Michelle, she, again, was a little shocked. And when I asked her, are you willing to do this? I don't know that she knew there was an option. But she was thrilled. She was truly honored to have this done in Chris's memory. And, she's just thrilled, and immediately started thinking, well, I've got to ask his brothers, and I've got to ask, because it's the whole family. And so, I think they're really going to have a good time, and we'll have at least one, if not 2 of the Cornetta family members helping to judge the parade floats from the reviewing stand over at the post office.
All right, mentioning that, good segue. Who are the judges?
Well, we know for a fact we'll have a Grand Marshal as a judge. We will have, I believe Peter Gay is going to be, no, I take that back. Peter can't be
Peter
judging
will
this
be
year.
in Disney.
That's correct. Betty Poirier, I think, is going to be one of the judges, and off the top of my head, I'm not sure who the other 2 are at this point.
So that all takes place, I mean, for people who haven't watched, the parade or this program, that all takes place at the post office now.
Correct.
Where does the parade start?
So the parade starts, we assemble the parade in the staging area down around St. Mary's Church. So all of the streets, Park Street, Adam Street, West Street, Broad Street, Tift Street. We really take over the area, and depending on the weather, classic cars can really build up, because people who have the classic cars, for example, they put a lot of time and effort and money into those cars. So if it's a nice day, they want to get out there and show them off. If it's snowy or rainy and they've put salt down, it's a lesser crowd because they don't want to risk that investment for that. But if it's a beautiful day, like we had a few years ago, the classic cars actually went all the way from Tift Street to West Street on both sides.
Wow.
It was a tremendous group. But we start off in the St. Mary's area. We, as we've done the last several years now, we'll be assembling the marchers up on the Baptist Common, and the signage up there to show where your group is to meet. And the floats will be directed to Polymet to check in, and they will be sent up to their parade position as they arrive, and they're sent up in order. So we'll assemble those as they go, and then what you don't see further down the street is the actual assembly of the parade, where we bring the marching groups out to join up with their floats or their group.
Okay.
And we do this, it keeps the pedestrians off of the street, helps things to flow. Invariably, there's somebody who wasn't there in time, or was running late, or was doing last-minute touches to their float, and they have to be moved through the staging area. And if you have we have a couple of groups that are over 100 participants in them, and if you are trying to get around that group, not everyone, it's parade day. There's a lot of excitement. You're not looking for traffic. The roads are cleared off. So we keep. That's why we keep the marchers separate until we actually assemble them. We bring them out. The committee has people who will direct marchers and floats to come together, and that has actually worked out really well for us. I would say we're going on 9 or 10 years of doing it in this format. And it's
Really?
worked out really well.
Wow. Now, another part that helps that work so well is the Ham Radio Club, right?
Absolutely. We couldn't do it without them. The Ham Radio Club generally brings in 8 to 10 people that help out, sometimes more, and they run all of the communications. Myself, having gotten into ham radio because of this, we have a lot of people who are helping to coordinate movement of everything. And the Sturdy Ham Radio Club, I do a few events with them during the course of the year, but it's a group that runs, really does a lot of coordination for a number of events in the area. They help out at Kids Day for parking. They do the Norton Halloween Parade. Some of the guys are involved with the Special Olympics coordinating. Ham radio is, everyone thinks it's sort of a lost art, but a lot of these really large events you see, the Boston Marathon, the Falmouth Road Race, the Crop Walk in Attleboro, all of these things are helped to be coordinated by ham radio to run communications. So people are stationed all along a course, and you can get up-to-the-minute updates of what's happening in different places. And the group from Sturdy Hospital Radio Club is really instrumental in putting this parade together, because otherwise it's a lot of yelling or a lot of people holding on to those small family radios, which people put in a pocket and then you can't hear them. You have people dedicated to the communications, and like I said, without that group, this parade would fall apart.
Well, not to sound naive, you just mentioned it. What is the difference between a ham radio and a regular walkie-talkie?
Well, a regular walkie-talkie, mechanically, it's a different animal. It runs on a different set of frequencies. It doesn't have the range that the ham radios have, and you don't have people who really know what they're doing on those radios. So the Ham Radio Club will have a particular frequency that they're operating on. Nobody is interrupting it. You're not getting two kids playing in a backyard interrupting your transmission as we're trying to figure out where such and such a group is. So the Ham Radio Club, they're people who know what they're doing with this, and a regular, what they call a family radio, is, like I said, it's going to be limited in range, not nearly as powerful, may not get around, the signal may not go around somebody's house. So if I'm trying to talk to somebody on Adams Street, it may or may not reach that far, because it's just the way the frequencies all work. But very different technology.
What is the day in the life of Neil Lambert on Parade Day?
So the life of Neil Lambert on Parade Day is a bit of a whirlwind, but my day starts pretty early because we put out, or myself and a few others will go out and we'll put out no parking signs downtown. We don't want to have them out too early because we don't want to interfere with business downtown. We don't want people thinking they can't park there ahead of time. So the signs start to go out around 8 o'clock in the morning. From there, there's various and sundry things that have to be done, final details, things like that. And somewhere around 1 o'clock, the Ham Radio Club and the committee start to gather at St. Mary's in the parking lot. And from there, people start showing up. We start assembling, putting people where they're supposed to be. And that'll run up right up until the parade start at 3 o'clock. And it's controlled chaos at a lot of times. It is a lot of fun. It really, really is. It's why I do this every year. This is my 12th year doing this, but then the parade goes off. I make my way to the end of the parade where I help with the coordinating of the parade float judging, as well as when Santa arrives, I help to get Santa up to the gazebo. And from there, we have the town tree lighting. So Santa comes out, we'll give the awards away for the floats, and then we'll do the town tree lighting. And we have a DJ who plays up on the gazebo. He'll play some Christmas music up until the parade reaches the area, so it's not dead silence down that way. And after the parade, our DJ, which is Ghost Music Service, DJ is Carl Boren, and Carl is also a member of the committee this year, whether he realized it or not. But Carl finally realized he was a member this year. But we keep that event going, and after the tree lighting is over, the Masons Hall across the street, in coordination with the Hockomock YMCA, they have opened the hall up for take your own pictures with Santa, and they run some activities, and they have some food available, restrooms, which are very important when you're out there for a while, and that's then from my day to end my day afterwards, I have to go and collect all the signage and get that all put away and so forth. So for me, it's about a 10 or 12-hour day.
Wow. It's a labor of love.
It's a labor of love, and like I said, I really enjoy doing it. When it goes well, I can look back at the end of the day and say, I've helped to do something, part of a committee, obviously, but I've helped to do something this town really enjoys.
And your dad would be proud.
My father would be proud. He ran the parade, I think, around 15 years. He took it over from Mickey Vigorito, who I think ran it for 30-plus years, I think 30 or 35 years. My mother used to say everything just stopped for the parade for my father from middle of October until Thanksgiving. Nothing existed. And that really isn't far off of the truth. When he did pass away, he hadn't been in the office since the parade. And I saw all of the different things that had started to stack up in October, November, because the parade took precedence and life really stopped. So, and he really poured his heart and soul into it. Christmas was a big part of his life, and he really lived for that holiday. You could take away almost everything else, but Christmas.
But you needed Christmas.
You needed Christmas.
Now, for people, people get confused. I don't want people standing in the wrong spot for the end of the parade. Where does the parade end?
So the parade officially ends. Santa comes off of the fire truck. It gets off pretty much right across from the post office.
Okay.
So anything beyond the post office is really no longer the parade. A lot of the groups will continue on, and then we generally have the horseshoe in front of the community school for people to get off of their floats so they don't hinder traffic behind them. But that's really where the parade has ended at that point. So if you're anywhere past that, you're going to be very disappointed on what the parade turned out to be. So.
Because I remember in the past, people were down there and they were like, we didn't see any of the parade. And it's like, well, the parade doesn't end there. So I want people to know.
That was an interesting year. And that was that really, after the first year, everyone knew. But there were a couple of hundred people who did not know that the parade was ending further up the street, that Santa was getting off the truck. A lot of disappointed children. And when they did realize the parade was ending further up the street, it created a lot of traffic issues in that area. But we've worked through that, and it's really run smoothly the last several years.
Now, if I am watching this right now, and I want to enter a float or a group, can I still do that?
You certainly can. You want to email to Downtown Associates of North Attleboro or contact us through the Facebook page, and Nancy, our administrative assistant, will send out an application. There is no cost to be part of the parade. We don't pay, but we also don't charge, which is why the sponsorship is so important. What we want to know is, what is it you're bringing to the parade? Are you bringing a float? Is it just marchers? If you're bringing a float, how big is the float? If you're bringing if you're having marches in there, how many marches? Because we want to know how much space to allot to each group, and it's important information. And we ask for a description of what you're doing, so that if you have a particular theme, because we have, as we mentioned earlier, we have some people at the end of the parade who are giving a description as to what's going on, yourself and Nancy this year, and we try to give everyone a synopsis of what it is that they're looking at, because sometimes it's a little more obvious than others.
Well, I was going to say, because sometimes you look at something and be like, I'm not quite certain what that was supposed to be.
Or you're completely off base, but giving us a description of your entry is very helpful. And sometimes as I'm assembling the parade, as I'm putting everything into an order, it helps me so I know not to have two groups doing the same thing next to each other. There are certain groups that are always in very similar places, usual divisions. But for example, this year, one of the dance schools, Starline School of Dance, is having a big anniversary. And they're inviting all their alumni from years
Wow.
past to come out. I think this is going to be an absolutely enormous group this year, and obviously a group not to miss. But I need to know where to put them, because they, I don't want to put them in an area I'm expecting to just have a small float, or obviously I don't want to put two dance schools next to each other. With a larger group, I want to make sure I don't give them any sudden stops, because that's a lot of people to stop at one time. So, it helps to get that description even for those reasons.
How difficult is that, finding the lineup?
It's always daunting when I first look down at the list, and there are certain things. I know Santa's at the end.
Right. This
You know,
goes
that-
right there. That's good.
The band goes in front of Santa to bring them in. But, it can be daunting, especially when you have, similar groups to one another. Like I said, dance schools, or a couple of times we've had multiple groups who have horses, and you don't necessarily want to put them together. And you want to make sure if only one of them has a cleaning crew, you want to make sure they're in the back. It's always important information to have.
Yeah, that would be a good thing to put in the description.
That is an important part to put in the description. Any kind of livestock is important to have in there. Some of the other things that we started a few years back that we're continuing this year, in order to help participants in the parade, we have set up areas to park at the parade end.
Okay.
So again, this year, parking will be available at W.H. Riley, as well as behind Wines and More and Preservation Framer, and that series of storefronts. And this year, our shuttle transportation, because we've always provided a shuttle, this year shuttle transportation is going to be provided by GATRA.
Wow.
They're doing that as a community service, and remembering that they're part of the community. They're about to open up this new transportation hub with the new apartments coming in on East Street, and so they elected to give us use of a bus from 2 to 3, and so that will just keep running a circuit. So if you park at the end of the parade in either of those locations, you want to get out to the end of the parking lot to be picked up, and then the bus will continue down East Street, and we'll pick up in front of East Street Ale House, is typically, because that's the side of the street you want to be on. But they will run that from 2 until 3, and once the parade starts, obviously the shuttle ends, because traffic's going to be shut off running through downtown.
Now, for people listening, this is December 1st, correct?
Correct.
Now, rain or shine?
It's a judgment call, pretty much rain or shine, but if weather's extreme, we certainly would call it off. But we've had years where weather was, let's call it, unexpected. The forecast would call for rain or snow to end by late morning. And really, the decision to cancel the parade has to be made by no later than 9 o'clock in the morning, so that people can get their word out to other people. Because some of the groups that come in are traveling from a distance, or part of their floats may be coming from a distance. So we want to give them time to not travel all the way down here. So if we've been surprised, we've had years when that weather was supposed to stop late morning, and by parade time it was pouring rain and it was 35 degrees. And but we've also had years when it's been 60 and beautiful and sunny. So it becomes a judgment call on the morning of the parade. If it really looks like something is going to be coming at us a few days out, the committee will discuss it. But as of right now, it's on the extended forecast. What I'm seeing is in the mid-40s and partly cloudy. So let's hope that continues right up until the parade.
Doesn't sound like a bad day on December 1st at 3 p.m.
It really doesn't. And by that point, 42 degrees will seem warm.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, I don't know what happened to fall. I'm not quite certain on that.
Kind of like the 3 hours of spring.
Yeah, that we had.
Yeah.
Well, I also would like to thank you and North TV would actually, and the Ham Radio Club for helping us with getting a generator. So thank you.
Well, I've got to talk to somebody to see what we can find for you, but I'm pretty sure we'll be able to secure some power to make sure that North TV can cover the parade in its entirety, and that everything is ready to go.
And we really appreciate it.
Oh, no, that's part of what the Ham Radio Club does is they help out in the community, and North TV is certainly a major part of our community.
Well, Neil, it's been fun being a part of this and seeing how much work you guys put into all this. And I'd be amiss not to say making of the wreaths.
And those were completed yesterday, the
They
wreaths
were.
and the other decorations that are going downtown. I saw a post from Rick Miller, who donates the materials and a lot of labor to put those wreaths together and to get them up. And then North Attleboro Electric will actually be putting them up on the poles in the next just over a week. And you know, it couldn't be done without them. It really couldn't.
It's very exciting.
It is.
And that's what makes downtown so perfect and beautiful.
Right. It's what makes us the quaint North Attleboro town that we are. You know, there's a lot of people involved, a lot of volunteer hours that people are putting in, and you don't get this everywhere. That's part of what makes North Attleboro such a great community.
Well, Neil, I look forward to seeing you on December 1st.
I'll be there.
And so will I, and hopefully it goes smoothly. And we look forward to seeing you on December 1st at 3 p.m. for the Dana Santa Parade. Thank you for watching this edition of Inside Look.